All right, guys, welcome to part three. Didn't think there would be a part three. This will be short and sweet, I promise. Okay, so we went over a lot of the basics, and I just wanted to really quickly finish talking about these text boxes. So the reason I have three is because it's all about the eye. Like again, thinking about the font, thinking about using a sans serif versus a serif font. And then thinking about like how long it takes your eye to move across the page. It's really hard for the eye to um you know s- s- scan a whole page. If you notice, if you look at other books, they always break it up. So please, please, please do not have your text box span the entire sheet. Break it up a little bit, make it into a manageable um, legible size and font size as well. So kind of think about. I mean, it's always nice actually to have somebody outside of architecture go through your book. Have a parent, a friend, someone that's not in the field, because they can give you some really good feedback as to like how are they viewing it if it's not making sense or it's hard to read. That can kind of tell you if you should change things up or not. So, anyways, that's why I've got three text boxes here. Okay, so let's go to my sheet. And so then in here, so we've got everything set up. Again, you can just hit Control Shift to select all of this per page and copy and paste from your Word file or write straight in here to change up your text. Um, Same thing right here. We're going to place an image here. So I hit Control Shift, so it's now selected, and I'm going to go to File and Place. And remember, I think it was in part one, I told you guys to put all of your images, everything that you're going to use, in one folder. So even if it's related to something else and you keep it somewhere else, I would copy and paste that into a separate folder. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna put this image in. We'll put that in. Ooh, wow, that looks intense. So, like I was saying in part one, you can go through some of these options up here at the top to either fit the frame proportionally, fit the content proportionally, or fit the content to frame. So I would go through a couple of these and see sort of what looks best. Sometimes what you need to do um, is say you have it fit proportionally, but it's still, you still have some white on there and you have a really good quality image, which is also important so that when you scale it, it won't get too grainy. One thing I like to do is, sometimes I'll import an image just to see what size it is. So let's bring in this image. And then I know, well, this is, pretty big. But I know that like I can't scale it any bigger than it already than the original because then it'll be really grainy. So when you're looking for your images for your book or for your portfolio, make sure and pay attention to the size, because you don't want to scale it up. You can scale it down, but you don't want to scale it up because it usually turns out really grainy. So get some really good size quality and high quality images so that you can scale it down. So this one right here, we know that these ones are big, but I know that I can scale it up because it's already huge. We know that that original size is huge. So I can double click in here and hit S for scale and look at my reference point. It's already in the middle, which for me is good right now. That's what I want. Then I'll grab a corner and hit Shift and scale it up. And then maybe I'll move this up like this, move it over until I get the view that I want. Okay. So, and I know I'm kind of going over some of those really quickly. I'm kind of assuming that you guys are picking this up really quickly, or you Googling it, or you already know. I also don't know how much you guys know or don't know about InDesign. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. You know, I can I can go through things a little more thoroughly if you want. Okay, so we've got our image, we've got our text in, and I just want to show you really quickly how or what happens if you don't link everything. So Here, this is an old portfolio of mine, and what happened was, I was linking in all of the images from their separate folders, and so when anything changed, like if I moved the folder, or in this case, I brought everything from my C drive to my hard drive to my portable drive. So all of those links, it's now saying, "Oh no, like where is this?" And you can double click that question mark, and it's asking you to locate it again. So it's saying, this is where it was. Where is it now? And it was saying, like, it was on my C drive, and I've moved everything since to my hard drive. So I have to go in and relocate everything, which is why I now will create folders that say links, and I copy and paste everything in there. So now for this presentation, everything is in that folder. And so still, like, even if move this later on, the whole thing, I might still have to relink it to say, oh, it's not in the C drive, it's on the hard drive. But when you do that, and if everything's in there, it'll auto link everything. So see this little checkbox right here? It says search for missing links in this folder. So everything that's in this location, it'll automatically find, and then all of these question marks will go away. But in my case, that's not what I did, because I linked it from my individual folders. So that's all that means. So you can also find out where they were originally hidden by going to links. And then over here, this image that I have selected down here under path, it shows me where it was looking for it. So then okay, this I know where it was looking for it. I know where it's at now. So now I just need to double click the question mark and go find it for it. And then InDesign does a good job at realizing, oh, okay, you've just moved it from this place to that place, and it'll look for all the other missing links. Okay, so I think that's actually all that I wanted to go through. Let me go over here really quick. Oh, one last thing. So you see how down here on this title page, I've also got the name of the chapter. So that's also on my master over here. So over here, you can either just have the page number, or you can have the page number and the name of the chapter. And if you do that, then I would recommend creating a separate master for each chapter. So then over here, I would probably say duplicate, and maybe I'll change C to say chapter 1 body, chapter 1 body. And then over here on D parent, I would just say change that to say chapter 2 body. And then same thing over here. I can just select that and change that to what chapter 2 says. I'm not going to write that whole thing because it was really long, but you get the point. So that's one reason you might have like a million masters, or you can just leave it without the chapter on there and just have the page number. Then you just have one master for the body, and then one master for the title. So, oh, one another thing I wanted to go over really quick. See how um this is still all one text box. All I did was I changed the size, I changed the color. I think I moved this to 80%. Sometimes I think I was telling you it's kind of nice to do 90 sometimes. Like it's just like a hint less strong than 100% black. It's kind of nice, just a little easier on the eyes. So I did this at 80. So let's go back over to this document. And another thing you can do is say, okay, I've got my caps lock on, I'm going to town writing. And then you're like, ooh, this is a lot. This is like really intense. Like it looks kind of strong. So you can go over here and select the text and go up to type, and then go to change case. And from here, whatever you have selected, you can change it to all uppercase, all lowercase, all title case, which means the first letter is always capitalized, or to sentence case, just the first letter of the sentence is capitalized. So I'm going to change this to title case, so then the chapter one stands out, and then the relation. Oh, we forgot the ship. The relationship to context is kind of a supporting text to the chapter one. So that's a way that's also nice to format. As you're going to town, you've got certain things caps locks, certain things not caps lock. You can go in and instead of like hitting caps lock and retyping it, you can just select it and go to type, go to change case, you know, and change it all to lowercase or whatever you want to do. Um, okay, let's see. What else do we need to go over? I think the last movie was a little bit fast. I didn't think I was trying not to make a part three, but here we are. So, okay, so we've got our title, we've got our body. I'll just go back through this sheet over here and just kind of go through some examples. Um, so like I was saying before, in my portfolio, I've got, a million guides for some reason. And I think so on this one, instead of making my margin an inch and a half, I just put a guide at an inch and a half. And the nice thing, or one of the nice things about doing that, or the difference between doing that, is that your center, or what it perceives as the center, will be the center in between the margin. So when I changed this to an inch and a half, now it's perceiving the InDesign will perceive the center as in between these two margins. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're not doing a portfolio and doing more of a digital presentation like I was doing here, you might want to keep everything at 0.5 inches. Um, just something to keep in mind. Another thing I like to do with InDesign is I'll place all my images on here and you can see like everything up to the side. I'll keep things, I'll delete them. I like to have some general guidelines with my guides, but then depending on the content, I'll break those rules. And you can always break your rules. It's good to have a set to go by, but then know that sometimes those rules are broken. Like in this book, for example, yes, everything is always centered, but those margins are sometimes changing. The format of everything is changing according to the content that is placed on these pages. Um, so sort of keep that in mind and think about how your page visually appears. It's kind of nice to put some digital imagery with some hand drawings and some text to kind of really compose the page in a pleasing way. So think about your page sizes and ooh, I'm losing my voice. I've been talking for so long. This is ridiculous. So think about the page sizes and the content that you're putting on, the placement of that content, and how you're really drawing the viewer through your book. And know that if there's anything you want to do in InDesign, you probably can do it. You just need to Google it and figure it out. So I will leave you with that and happy designing. Good luck, guys.